Have you ever heard someone's last words, the kind that burn into your memory forever? I did. And no matter how many years pass, I can still hear them, word for word. They weren't dramatic. They weren't poetic. But they changed the way I see family, responsibility, and love. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon, and I was finishing a shift at the small bookstore where I worked part-time. The bell above the door jingled, but instead of a customer walking in, it was my phone buzzing in my apron pocket. I glanced down, expecting a text from a friend. But instead, it was a number I recognized instantly, the long-term care facility where my grandfather had been staying for the past 8 months. My hands froze. My grandfather, Henry, had been battling an aggressive form of cancer. He wasn't supposed to be gone yet, not according to the doctors, not according to the way he smiled last week when I showed him a silly video of a dog chasing its tail. But the moment I saw the number, I felt the air leave my lungs. I answered, barely managing a hello. A nurse's voice came through, calm but urgent. Is this Alex? Your grandfather's condition has declined sharply. He doesn't have much time left. He's asking for you. The clipboard in my hand slipped and clattered onto the floor. My manager rushed over, mouthing, "Are you okay?" But I couldn't answer. My throat closed up. For months, I'd been the one who drove 2 hours every weekend just to sit by Grandpa's bedside, bringing him crosswords, sneaking in homemade soup, reading him mystery novels. My mom, his own daughter, barely visited. She always had excuses, work deadlines, too painful to see him like that, or simply next weekend, I promise. I forced my voice to work. I'll be there. Please, keep him comfortable. Just, please hold the phone to his ear. The nurse agreed, and suddenly I could hear his raspy breathing. Grandpa, it's me. I'm coming right now. Just hang on for me, okay? A long pause. Then, faint and shaky, his voice. Alex, don't rush. Drive safe. Those words hit me like a punch, because that was who he was, always thinking of others, even as his body was shutting down. I bolted out of the bookstore, rain soaking my hair in seconds as I fumbled with my car keys. The GPS said an hour and 15 minutes. My heart screamed that it wasn't fast enough. Halfway down the highway, I called my mother. She answered on the third ring, her voice loud with laughter and background chatter. Honey, what's up? I'm at a wine tasting with Carol and the girls. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. Mom, it's Grandpa. The hospice says he doesn't have long. He's asking for you. A pause. Then, oh, Alex, today? Really? I'm 3 glasses in already. I can't just leave. Mom! I shouted, my voice cracking. He could be gone in an hour. He's asking for you. Please. But she just sighed. Sweetheart, I can't face seeing him like that. Not again. Tell him I love him, okay? Tell him I'll come tomorrow. Tomorrow. As if tomorrow was guaranteed. I hung up before I said something I couldn't take back. My chest burned as I pressed the gas pedal harder, weaving through traffic. Every red light felt like an enemy. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was the nurse. He's still holding on. He keeps asking if you're close. I'm 20 minutes out, I lied, even though the GPS still showed 35. Please, just tell him I'm almost there. And that's when the storm inside me shifted. Because I realized something. My grandfather wasn't waiting for my mom. He was waiting for me. The rain hammered against my windshield like it was trying to slow me down, like the whole world was conspiring against me making it in time. My wipers swiped furiously, but the road was still a blur of red brake lights and slick black asphalt. My mind raced even faster than the car. Memories of Grandpa Henry flickered in my head like old home movies. Him teaching me how to ride a bike in the cracked driveway, running alongside me with a steady hand. Him sneaking me quarters for the arcade, winking so my mom wouldn't see. Him sitting in his worn recliner, reading the newspaper out loud as if the world's headlines were meant only for us. He was more than just a grandfather. He was my safe place, the one adult who never made me feel small or like a burden. If I didn't make it in time, I wasn't sure how I'd live with myself. I checked the GPS again. 31 minutes. My heart sank. Please, just hang on, I whispered to no one but the dark road ahead. I called the nurse again, unable to stop myself. How is he? Is he still awake? Her voice softened. He's weak, but he's holding on. He keeps squeezing my hand when I tell him you're coming. It's like, he's waiting for you. My throat burned with tears. Tell him I'm almost there. After hanging up, I tried calling Mom again, even though I knew it was useless. She answered, slurring slightly. Alex, honey, what now? What now? My voice broke. Mom, he could die any minute, and you're sipping wine like it's just another Saturday. Don't you care? Her silence stretched, then she said flatly, of course I care. But I can't handle seeing him in that state. I want to remember him how he was. I gritted my teeth so hard my jaw ached. Then I guess I'll be the one who remembers him as he really is. Alone. Asking for you. I hung up before she could respond. For the rest of the drive, I alternated between crying so hard I could barely see and forcing myself to breathe through the panic. When I finally pulled into the hospice center's parking lot, the rain had slowed to a drizzle. The world looked washed out, like the color had drained away. I sprinted inside, shoes squeaking on the linoleum, and nearly collided with the nurse at the front desk. She recognized me immediately and put a hand on my shoulder. He's still with us. Room 214. Go. I ran down the hall, heart pounding like a war drum. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic and wilted flowers, a scent that screamed of endings. When I pushed open the door, the sight stopped me cold. Grandpa Henry lay in the bed, his skin pale and fragile as paper. Tubes and wires surrounded him, machines beeping steadily like they were keeping time. His chest rose and fell shallowly, each breath an effort. But when his eyes fluttered open and found mine, there was a flicker of recognition. Alex. His voice was a rasp, but it was him. I rushed to his side, grabbing his hand, surprised by how cold it was. I'm here, Grandpa. I made it. A weak smile tugged at his lips. Knew you would. Tears streamed down my face. I'm so sorry it took me so long. I should have been here sooner. He squeezed my hand faintly, cutting me off. You came. That's what matters. Behind me, the nurse quietly slipped out, giving us privacy. For the first time all day, the panic in my chest eased. He was still here. I had made it. But as I looked at his frail body, I knew this was the beginning of goodbye. And yet, even then, I had no idea that the words he was about to say would carve themselves so deeply into me that I'd never stop hearing them, long after he was gone. The room was hushed except for the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor and the low hum of the oxygen machine. I sat hunched at Grandpa's bedside, my hand still wrapped around his, refusing to let go as though my grip could anchor him to this world. For a while, neither of us spoke. He drifted in and out of sleep, eyelids fluttering, lips moving faintly as if he were still talking in dreams. Each time he stirred, I leaned closer, afraid I'd miss something important, afraid that at any moment he might slip away. I texted Mom again. He's asking for you. Please, come now. Read. No reply. I sent another. He might not make it through the night. Still nothing. That silence cut deeper than I expected. My mother wasn't just absent, she was choosing not to be here. It was like she'd handed me the burden and said, you carry it. I can't. And I did. I read him passages from the old mystery novel we'd started the last time I visited. My voice shook, but his faint smile told me he was listening. At one point, he squeezed my hand and whispered, don't cry, Alex. You've always been the brave one. I nearly broke right there. Because I didn't feel brave at all. I felt like a kid again. Small, scared, sitting in a too-big chair waiting for someone to tell me what to do. Except now there was no one. No mom. No uncles, no cousins. Just me. And him. The longer the night stretched, the more that weight pressed on me. My stomach growled, but I couldn't eat. My phone buzzed with friends asking if I wanted to hang out, but I ignored them. The world outside this room didn't exist anymore. Once, when the nurse came in to adjust his four, she gave me a soft smile. You're a good grandson. Not everyone shows up the way you have. I tried to smile back, but the words twisted in me. Not everyone shows up. She didn't know my mother had chosen a glass of wine over her father's last moments. She didn't know that in this family, showing up seemed optional. At around midnight, Grandpa stirred again. His eyes opened, glassy but searching. Alex. I'm here, I whispered, leaning close. His lips parted, but instead of asking for water or medicine, he asked something that froze me. Where's your mother? The lump in my throat hardened. She couldn't come tonight, Grandpa. His brows furrowed faintly, as if even in his weakened state, he understood the truth behind my words. A long silence followed before he sighed, barely audible. Always running. My chest ached with shame. I wanted to defend her, to tell him she loved him in her own way. But I couldn't bring myself to lie. Not to him. So I just held his hand tighter and whispered, You've got me. I'm not going anywhere. His eyes closed, but not before I saw the glimmer of peace settle there. And that was when the realization crashed over me. I was it. The last line of defense between him and the loneliness of dying. I couldn't falter, couldn't break. No matter how much it tore me apart, I had to be strong. For him. I leaned back in the chair, exhaustion heavy in my bones, and stared at the ceiling tiles. Each tick of the clock was another reminder that time was slipping through my fingers, no matter how tightly I held on. Somewhere deep down, I knew the worst was still to come. The moment when he'd look at me, gather what little strength he had left, and leave me with words I could never erase. I just didn't know how soon that moment would arrive. The clock on the wall crept toward 2 a.m., each tick dragging like a weight across my chest. My head lolled against the chair, exhaustion threatening to pull me under, when I felt the faintest tug on my hand. I jolted upright. Grandpa's eyes were open again, wide and strangely clear despite the feverish sheen on his skin. Alex, he whispered, his voice barely a rasp. I'm here, Grandpa, I said quickly, leaning in close. He swallowed, struggling, and I instinctively reached for the cup of water on the tray, holding the straw to his lips. He sipped weakly, then shook his head. Listen, have to tell you something. My heart pounded. Anything. His fingers trembled against mine, but his grip was surprisingly firm. Don't end up like her. I froze. I knew exactly who he meant. My mother. He drew a ragged breath. Your mom. She's always been afraid. Afraid of life, of pain, of responsibility. That fear cost her. Cost me. His voice cracked on the last word. I stared at him, unsure if I should interrupt, but he pressed on, desperate. When you were little, I saw it. The way she left you to sit alone at the soccer games, the way she brushed you off when you showed her your drawings. She doesn't know how to stay. But you, his eyes locked onto mine, burning through the weakness. You stay. Don't lose that. Don't let this family teach you to run. Tears stung my eyes. I wanted to argue, to defend my mother even a little, but the truth in his words was undeniable. I thought of the unanswered texts, the empty promises, the wine glass clinking over the sound of my voice when I begged her to come. Grandpa, My throat closed. I don't want to be alone in this. You won't be, he whispered. You'll find your people. Family isn't blood. It's who shows up. The words sank into me, heavy and undeniable. He coughed violently then, and ISH*T up, fumbling for the call button. A nurse rushed in, adjusting his oxygen, checking his vitals. She glanced at me, her face solemn. It's close. Talk to him. Say what you need to say. Panic surged in my chest. No, not yet. I wasn't ready. As the nurse slipped out, I sat back down, clutching his hand like a lifeline. Grandpa, please, don't leave me. Not yet. His lips curved into the faintest smile. We don't get to choose. But, we do get to leave behind words. So you'll remember. I bent forward, forehead against his knuckles, tears dripping onto his fragile skin. Then tell me, Grandpa. Tell me what I need to remember. He took another rattling breath, each second stretching like eternity. And then, with all the strength left in him, he whispered words that would become seared into me forever. Words that would echo in my mind long after the machines went silent. The nurse's warning, "It's close," echoed in my skull like a tolling bell. I wanted to fight it, to bargain with time, to throw myself between Grandpa and the inevitability waiting for him. But the truth was, there was no bargaining left. Only words. And words had always been his gift. I sat forward, gripping his frail hand in both of mine, as if sheer force could keep him tethered. You don't get to leave me like this, I whispered. Not without finishing what you started to say. His eyelids flickered, heavy as stone. For a terrifying moment, I thought he'd already slipped away. Then, with effort that looked like it cost him everything, his lips parted. Alex, promise me. My heart lurched. Promise you what, Grandpa? That you'll live. Not hide. Don't run, like she does. Promise me, you'll face life. The words shook through me, raw and broken, but carrying the weight of a command. Tears blurred my vision as I bent closer. I promise. I swear it. I won't run. His breath rattled, but his mouth curved faintly. Good, my brave boy. Those 3 words cracked something inside me. Brave. I didn't feel brave. I felt like a kid begging the universe not to take the only man who had ever made me feel enough. And then the panic turned into fury, not at him, not at death itself, but at the silence on the other end of my unanswered texts. My mother. His own daughter. She was missing this. She had left me here to carry it alone. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and dialed her number again. To my shock, she answered on the second ring, her voice groggy and annoyed. Alex. It's almost 3 in the morning. What now? My voice came out sharper than I intended, choked with grief. What now? He's dying, Mom. Right now. And you're still not here. A pause. Then a whisper. I can't handle it. My blood boiled. You think I can? You think sitting here, listening to him beg for his daughter, is easy for me? But I'm here. Because he deserves that. Because you owe him that. She sniffed, her voice brittle. Don't lecture me. I'll come in the morning. I nearly screamed. There won't be a morning. The line went dead. She had hung up on me. The rage and grief tangled inside me like barbed wire. I shoved the phone back in my pocket and turned back to Grandpa, who had stirred faintly at my raised voice. His clouded eyes found mine, and in them I saw not disappointment but something gentler, resignation. Alex, don't waste your life on anger. His words were halting, fragile. Forgive, even if they don't deserve it. Otherwise, you'll carry it forever. I shook my head, tears spilling freely. I don't know if I can, Grandpa. You will, he murmured. Because you're stronger than you think. He exhaled a long, trembling breath, and his hand relaxed in mine. Panic surged. Was that it? No, not yet. Not without the words. Not without the moment that would brand itself into me. I leaned in close, desperate, my forehead nearly pressed to his. Please, Grandpa. Please don't leave without telling me what I need to know. His lips moved again, faint but clear enough for me to hear. And though I didn't realize it in that second, they would be the last words he ever spoke. The room had shrunk down to the space between us, my trembling hands wrapped around his frail ones, the steady beep of the monitor keeping time with my heartbeat, the rasp of his breath pulling and pushing against silence. He looked at me, and for a moment, his eyes were as sharp and alive as they had been years ago, when he used to read me the sports section or laugh at my terrible magic tricks. That spark was still there, buried beneath exhaustion and pain, and it held me captive. Alex, his voice cracked, so soft I had to lean in until my ear brushed the stubble on his cheek. I'm here, I whispered. His lips shaped the words slowly, deliberately. Don't be afraid to love. Don't be afraid to stay. My chest caved, the tears breaking free. I promise, Grandpa. I won't run. I'll stay. I'll love. His smile deepened just slightly, a shadow of the grin I'd grown up with. Then he added, so quietly it was almost a sigh, I'm proud of you. The words hit me harder than any storm could. All my life I had doubted myself, wondered if I was enough. In that moment, in his final breath of strength, he gave me the answer. The monitor beeped erratically, the rhythm stumbling, faltering. I panicked. No, please, stay with me. Just a little longer. But his hand, still in mine, squeezed faintly one last time. And then, the line went flat. The nurse rushed in, checking vitals, adjusting wires, but I knew. I knew the second the warmth began to slip from his skin. I collapsed against the bed, sobbing into his still chest, my body shaking with the force of everything I hadn't said. Around me, the machine screamed, the nurse spoke in calm, practiced tones, but none of it mattered. All I could hear were his last words, playing on a loop in my mind. Don't be afraid to love. Don't be afraid to stay. I'm proud of you. When the nurse finally laid a gentle hand on my shoulder and whispered, he's gone, I nodded, though my throat couldn't form the words. Gone. But not erased. Because those words, the last words I would ever hear from him, had carved themselves so deeply into me that I knew they would never fade. And that realization, raw and unbearable as it was, became the only thing that kept me from breaking completely. The days that followed blurred into a fog of paperwork, hushed condolences, and the heavy scent of lilies that seemed to follow me everywhere. I moved through it all like a sleepwalker, hearing his last words echo in my mind louder than the voices of relatives or the murmurs of funeral directors. Don't be afraid to love. Don't be afraid to stay. I'm proud of you. They weren't poetic. They weren't long. But they were enough to reroute the way I saw myself, my family, my future. At the funeral, I sat in the front row, my hands clasped so tight they ached. My mother finally showed up, dressed in black but with sunglasses hiding her face. She slid into the seat beside me, smelling faintly of wine and expensive perfume. She didn't say a word until halfway through the service. Then she leaned toward me and whispered, "Did he say anything at the end?" I turned my head, meeting her hidden eyes. For a moment, I wanted to unleash the storm inside me. I wanted to tell her how he had asked for her, how he had noticed her absence, how she had missed the only chance to hear him one last time. But then I remembered his voice. Don't waste your life on anger. Forgive. So I nodded slowly and whispered back, yes. He said he loved us. Her lips trembled, but she said nothing more. After the burial, as people drifted away, I lingered by the graveside. The earth was fresh, dark against the green grass, and I crouched down, pressing my palm into the soil as if I could still feel his warmth beneath it. I heard you, Grandpa, I whispered. And I swear, I'll carry those words with me. Always. In the weeks that followed, I found myself living differently without even realizing it. When my friends asked me to hang out, I stopped making excuses. When someone offered kindness, I accepted it without suspicion. And when I felt that old urge to pull back, to isolate myself like I'd seen my mother do for years, I heard his voice again. Don't be afraid to stay. One evening, sitting alone in my apartment, I called my mother. She answered, surprised. Alex. I just wanted you to know, I said quietly. I forgive you. For not coming. For everything. There was silence, then the faintest sound of her crying. She didn't apologize, maybe she couldn't, but for the first time, I felt like the weight wasn't mine to carry anymore. Months later, I framed a photo of Grandpa and me from years ago, both of us grinning with ice cream cones dripping down our hands, and hung it by my desk. Some mornings, when the doubts creep back in, when I feel too small, too afraid, I look at that picture and remember. I remember the last words I ever heard him say. And I remember that they weren't just words meant for that moment. They were a gift, a compass, a command to live fully and fiercely, to stay when it matters, to love even when it's terrifying. They were his goodbye. But for me, they became the beginning of something new.